personal development, transforming your relationship with your self-worth. Hello, welcome to Women's Financial Empowerment Group. I'm your host, Ruth Agbeloso. Thank you so much for visiting my channel. If you're new here, please subscribe, like this video, and share it with a friend. If you've been here before, please go ahead and like, share, do all those wonderful things, and hit the notification bell. That way you'll be notified whenever we upload a new video. On this channel, we discuss all things money mindset, making money, saving money, investing money, and more. So you're going to want to come back to hear what I have in store for you. Today, we will be talking about personal development, and we have a special guest online with us today. So I'm really excited to welcome Virginia Nava Hieger. Virginia serves as a facilitator for eCornell BOA Women Entrepreneurship Program. She also has her own consulting firm, and she'll share that information with you. She's an author, and she's just a great person that I met online when I was getting my certificate through that eCornell program. So help me welcome right now, Virginia Nava Hieger. Welcome, Virginia.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to do this. It's such a wonderful thing to meet such amazing people online. I was just telling our viewers just a little bit about you, but I'd love for you to tell them some more about yourself.
Well, thank you so much, Ruth. Yes. So my name is Virginia Nava Hieger. I'm originally from Mexico, actually, and been living here in the US for half of my life. And I'm really passionate about women empowerment. I'm also passionate about people being able to express their essence of who they are and sharing more of who they are in the world. I worked in corporate for a long time before I became an entrepreneur. And entrepreneurship really has helped me grow as a human being. I never knew that that would happen. I also have a son, so I'm also a mom. So I can understand like all the different facets that we have, as women. So yeah, I have my son is 10 years old, and I'm also married. So I have my cat and dog. So it's really exciting life.
Awesome. I know you have a lot going on, so that makes me even more appreciative that you took out the time to be here with us today. So I won't delay you, keep you from your cats and dogs and your 10-year-old. I'll just go ahead and dive in with some questions, if that's okay.
Yes, please.
All right, awesome. So I told my viewers that we'll be talking about personal development today, and I'm really excited because that really goes in line with what I teach in my program, teaching about mindset and teaching how you can level up in business and in life. So this is an awesome topic that I'm excited about getting into. So the first question I have for you is, I know that you are a personal and business development coach, and I'd love for you to actually tell them a little bit more about your company and what you do. But I was just wondering, one of your areas of expertise is self-worth. Can you please tell me a little bit more about this and also tell us about what you do in your company?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, basically, I believe that what we create in the world, so whether it's having more clients or the work career that we want to have, or the business we want to have, or the difference we want to make, all happens because of our self-worth. So if we believe that we can make a difference in the world, and we believe that we have what it takes to make a difference in the world, then we can make a difference in the world. But if we don't believe that we have what it takes, if we believe that we lack something, then we are not going to be able to make it. So really what happened to me is that I realized it during my own career, as an entrepreneur and also as a consultant. I realized that your relationship with self-worth affects how you're able to create the life that you want to have. And I think, how people can really relate to this topic is some people have self-doubt. Some people feel like they're not good enough. Some people feel like when I get the money, I'm going to do this. When I get, I meet the right person, I'm going to do that, right? And it's almost like the money is going to come to them sitting in their office, or the new relationship is going to come to them sitting in their couch in the living room, or their dream is going to come to them in the coffee shop, right? But for a lot of things, we don't sit in our couch to get those things. We
Right.
have to make actions. Maybe we have to make the phone call. So we go dating. Maybe we have to make the sales call so we can get a client. Maybe we have to apply for the new job, right? And the action of doing those things is highly related into a person's ability to see themselves as worthy of what they desire, and worthy not only for what they desire, but worthy because they have something inside of them to offer. And then regarding I guess a little bit more about my company, in regards to my coaching, my history is I've been in corporate for a long time, so I was a corporate woman for 15 years and, travel around the world, did, multi-million-dollar brands and all of these things. And then I became an entrepreneur. And then people will come to me for business coaching. And then I will do the specific roadmap and a strategy and messaging and, business models. And then what I realized, as I was coaching entrepreneurs and people, is that their success was highly correlated with their mindset and how a person saw themselves and their own self-image. And that was basically, a combination of, yes, you have the tool, you have the business, but also you have your own mindset. And that's when I started kind of combining both.
Right. That definitely makes sense. You mentioned a few words that really stuck out to me: belief, lack, and worthy. And I also believe, for lack of a better way of saying it, rather than repeating the same word, that it all starts off with belief. Like, you have to actually have belief in order to make anything happen for yourself, in order to level up with your finances or with your business. Any way, you have to believe that you can do it. Because if you start off believing that you can't, then you're going to hamper your growth. So I love that you mentioned belief, and also that notion, that mindset of lack. When people have that lack mindset, believing like, oh, no one will buy from me, or I don't know how to sell, or I'm trying to use language that you're familiar with as a business coach, that people come with all those, I can't do it, because then they're not able to progress beyond where they are. So I love that you address those things, and also being worthy, knowing that you're worthy to receive that relationship or receive that business growth or financial success is really, really important. So I really love that you address all of that stuff. And I know that in your work, you talk about self-worth a lot. And so I'm just wondering, like, what is the difference between outer worth and self-worth as inner worth? Like, can you expound on that a little bit? And also, while you're answering that, what do you mean by this difference? Could you just explain it for me?
Yeah, the more I have gone through my own professional career development and personal development, I've noticed that there's a big difference between outer worth and inner worth. And I think a lot of people, including myself, confuse outer worth with inner worth. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people think outer worth is how much money they make. So for example, okay, I'll give you examples. So outer worth, the amount of money you have in the bank. That's outer worth. Outer worth, like how many sales do you make this month? Outer worth, like what kind of work and career do you have? Outer worth, like if your kids, if you're a mom, how amazing they think you are as a mother. Outer worth could be the wardrobe you wear, the bag that you have, anything that is a symbol of worth in society. That obviously it's different from a Western culture to Eastern culture. And I think for women, it could be related to, like for career women, it could be related to their career advancement. For entrepreneurial women, it could be related to the level of success in the entrepreneurship and sales and impact. For a person that is a mom or a caregiver of an adult, it could be about how much her acts of service are contributing to society. For a person that loves to volunteer, it could be about the acts of service to volunteering. And then basically inner worth is if you did not have that, if you did not have the title of vice president or whatever, if you did not have the cover of, Woman of the Year, if you didn't have, a star from your kid that you're the best mom ever, if you didn't have the Volunteer of the Year award, like if you didn't have any of those, what are you? So inner worth, it's about who you are internally as a woman, as a person, essentially as yourself. And inner worth is the most powerful of all the types of worth because it is one that never changes. Like it's inside of you. It's the essence of who you are. It's the gifts that you were given. It's the talents that you have. Is your natural strength, is your own value structure, it is a mission and purpose that you have. And regardless of anything in the outside, it always remains. And to me, I'm so passionate about this topic because I think as women, we changed. We're constantly transitioning. So sometimes we have this career and maybe we get married, we have a child, and then now we are in the caregiving role. Now that career is transitioning to a new, and maybe we get older and now we're caring for an older person. And now we're transitioning into career and caregiving. And a lot of those transitions can be really difficult for women because if our identity and our sense of worthiness is in our performance or productivity or the money we make, there's a lot of things that women do that they don't get paid for, like motherhood, like doing laundry. So how do you cope with those changes in life? And then how can you remain worthy, right? So for me, inner worth is really getting to that deep understanding of who you are inside and bringing a relationship of worth from who you are and not from what you do in terms of, not what you do in terms of doing, but in terms of accomplishment, in terms of what other people say that is amazing that you did.
I love that. Thank you so much for expounding on that. I think it was once thought of, and I've heard this, and you can let me know if you've heard this before, that men identify themselves as what they do, like their career and all of that. And women identify themselves more on their inner or being a mom or what have you. But based on what you were telling me, it's also an issue for women that we see ourselves in terms of what we produce as far as our career, especially as entrepreneurs, how many sales we brought in, how many sales calls, things like that. I mean, have you heard that difference before being thrown around?
Yes, but I also think that we need to acknowledge that for women, for a lot of women, there is a belief that their worthiness comes from either performance, if they're a career woman, also for how much they give. And so they may not be a career woman. They may be a mom. They may be a volunteer. They may be a caregiver. They may be a teacher. They may be a person that is helping others with their purpose. And so some women may relate themselves with the performance aspect, but I think also for some of the women that are not in the overachieving category, they may fall into the overgiving category. And to me, what I found is that the over is not, there's no problem with achieving. There's no problem with giving. The problem is when we are doing the over. And the problem is when we're not balancing the receiving, when we're not. And I think worthiness is about reframing, that you are able to be worthy, whether you perform and make money, whether you give for example, for a woman, imagine a woman that works 80 hours a week. And so for that woman, worthiness doesn't mean how much money she makes. Because she probably makes already 6 figures or 7 or 8. So for that woman, may mean taking a vacation, may mean taking a rest, taking a nap, because then she's worthy of receiving rest. For a woman that is a mother that has tons of children and is taking care of them, and she's not, maybe making a salary, maybe worthiness could be there, and maybe that's her choice, maybe that's her lifestyle. And for her, worthiness could be knowing how valuable her contribution as a mother is, and regardless of how much money she has in the bank, maybe she's worthy to receiving from her husband if she has a traditional role. And there is no shame that she's having that role because she made that decision in her own family. So worthiness means that you are worthy of receiving. You can receive rest, you can receive money, you can receive support. And then really, it's a really powerful thing.
Yes, I definitely agree with that, because I believe that the opposite is also true, that when you don't feel you're worthy, it determines so many things in your life. It determines what you do, what you get, what you give. It determines so many things. So thank you so much for expounding on that. I think that that is a major issue that a lot of people aren't talking about when it comes to women, and how, especially the part that you said, sometimes we overgive, to prove worthiness, especially for moms. I feel like, and even for career moms, and even stay-at-home moms, sometimes I feel like, because we wear so many hats, we have to overwork, we have to be at everything, do everything to our detriment, because we're not worthy of rest. We don't feel like we're worthy of slowing down or saying no, and just enjoying peace and quiet and solace. So that is so important. I'm glad that you brought that out. So why is it important that for women who are healing their relationship with money, to heal their relationship with their own self-worth?
I think it is really, really important. And I can tell you, for my personal relationship with money, I learned that in order for me to heal my relationship with money, I had to learn my worthiness. And for me, in my own experience of my personal relationship with money, I have had kind of two different many experiences. But, like I used to work in corporate, get a paycheck, whatever, get a salary. And then, my relationship with worthiness in that time, it was a lot about performance. So if I perform, I get money, then I perform more, I get more money, So basically, if I am an overachiever and I'm a top talent, I get a bonus, And then when I became an entrepreneur, it was about performance in terms of, putting the time and energy to build the business and to build the connections and do the networking and things like that. And I realized, in both cases, there was an opportunity for me to look at my own relationship and my self-worth, and see that in one time I was doing this overachieving thing, and in another time I was doing this overgiving or overdoing. And I started really noticing, things like, okay, I would hire a coach for my business on X, right? But then I would not put that same budget for me time or self-care, right? And I was like, why am I, even my relationship with money, or my, the way I'm using it, why am I putting more in my career than I will put on my own me time things? I also realized, for me, that, like, there is an opportunity to feel good about yourself regardless of how much money you make. Because I have faced different transitions, right? So, I was a corporate person, and then I became an entrepreneur. Then when I became an entrepreneur, I decided to take like a 6 months leave, to take care of my kid. So some of those motherhood transitions also has affected how many hours of time I wanted to put in my business so I could be a mom. And I think when I see people, a woman that I coach, I see that their income may change depending on their lifestyle. So for example, if a woman is retired or semi-retired, and she wants to be with her older parents, and she wants to have a part-time company so that she can enjoy vacations, maybe with her husband or her family, then her income may shift, or maybe her business model will shift, because she's going to be in a more part-time status. But I think a lot of times, I think people don't make those decisions. Like if you ask somebody, would you like to retire? And they say, yes, I want to retire. I want to see my kid or my grandkid. They don't retire because their sense of worthiness is associated with their career. Exactly. And the amount of money they make, right? So we can have, so for me, when I started making decisions based on like a different kind of lifestyle, that's when I started realizing, wow, there is an association around worth that we have been conditioning to have. And how can I start questioning that association and that societal conditioning around our sense of worth? So I don't do that, so I can just make my decision based on my decision, but not based on this conditioning around where my worth comes from. Because it's really unconscious. It's subconscious. It's not in your consciousness. So it's something you have to be aware of, that is not just right there,
Right. Exactly. I think that You said so much that just really resonates with me. I kind of feel convicted about that whole thing. You mentioned about paying for coaching and whatnot, but then for your self-care, you're like pinching pennies. And I'm like,
Yes.
man, I've spent thousands of dollars on coaching. And I can't say that I've spent thousands of dollars on vacations. I'm like doing the bare minimum with vacations. And I'm like, yeah, I could put aside money each month and have the type of vacation that I want. I mean, I have pretty good vacations, but you made me kind of like think like, yeah, what is that all about? I'm giving all my money to someone else, which is still helping. It's good for my business and it's good for my personal development, but yeah, I mean, I think it's also important to be able to have joy in the things that you do. And also, you mentioned society and how society presents self-worth and all of that. And I think we can get so caught up in the media and what they portray that we can lose stock of our own selves. And I think my way of dealing with that sometimes is just disconnecting. I remember times when I would go on Instagram and it would be a little bit overwhelming because I would be like, oh my gosh, this person is doing so great, and I'm applauding everybody, but I'm like, but me, I'm really not doing that well, and you do the comparison thing and then you start to think, well, and you start to feel small. And I'm like, no, stop it, turn it off, get away. Don't get sucked down in that rabbit hole. So it's very important, I think, for us to be aware of when we're not when our self-worth has taken a hit, and where are we looking for that definition of what is our self-worth. I think is also important. So I love that you covered all of that. So why is it important that women don't mix their self-worth with their outer worth? What is the impact of that?
Well, the impact is their happiness. Because if we're happy when like if a woman is an entrepreneur and is happy when she meets 7 figures and she's not happy now, and she's only going to be happy when she gets the 7 figures, and that's when she's going to be happy. She's putting her self-worth in her 7 figures, and she's not going to be happy until she has the 7 figures. And I realized this, it hit me when I went to some conference and there was some woman that was supposedly a successful woman that achieved all this growth. And basically she said she hadn't made it. And I was like, man, if this woman has not made it, and man, like none of us has made, like we have not made, I was like, wow, So my thought, right, I'm hearing this person, like she did this and that and like walks on water. And I'm like, I want to be like her when I grow up. Like, oh my God, I'm doing all these things, right? And she has not made it. I'm like, man, like, do we want to live our life in a relationship without a worth of, the salary we want to make, the car we want to drive, the outfit we want to wear, like the vacations we want? And are we in putting our self-image attached to it? Are we not having the joy and happiness of what we have now? And especially for women, because I think for women, a lot of women, are career women, and then they become moms and they choose to take care of their kids for 2 or 3 years or 4 years. And during those periods of time, then they may not be having the salary that they used to have. And do they need to be unhappy about themselves? Do they need to be feeling less worthy because they're doing a worthy cost of taking care of the children? And no, they don't. They don't need to. They feel as worthy and like even more worthy, or like equally worthy than anybody else, because they're taking care of a human being and they're making this choice. So I think a lot of times women, we make conscious choices of maybe not getting the rewards from the outer, because there's still an opportunity for the outer to be revolutionized, and it hasn't, because there's still not equality. Like a mom doesn't get paid for being a mom. So there's still opportunities for the society to be, changed. Like I think that we need a new movement. But in the moment that is not changed, and nobody's, women are not getting paid for being mothers. Like caregivers of elderly people are not getting paid, like for their parents, they're not getting paid for doing that. Yeah, we have caregivers and nannies and whatever they get paid of, but usually the family members aren't, right? So it is a heavy cost and a heavy burden for somebody to continue to feel that they have to meet the next level of the outer worth. And I think when we are in relationship with our inner worth and we're worthy now in this moment, then we can do anything, because then it's not about the outcome. It's not about the
Right.
seven. It's not about whatever. It is about helping another human being. And when you start feeling more that you're worthy for your talents, that your talents have value to help another human being, that your time is valuable to help another person, in that moment, I think it's easier to ask for somebody to pay for your service. It's easier for somebody to say, no, I don't have time for that. I have time for that. It's easier for somebody to also make difficult choices as, that are value-based, to say, I want to be with my kid for 6 months, right? So when you have that relationship with inner value and inner worth, you become less of a person that is playing by society rules, and then you are starting to play by your own value-based rules.
I love that. I really, really love that. You hit so many wonderful gems in that one. I'm a caregiver, by the way, so that one really resonated with me as well. And you're right, if our worth is tied to what we get paid for or what we get acknowledged, because sometimes we can do all these things and no one even sees us, right? Then it's going to really have a negative effect on us. But when we define what is our self-worth based on just our inner core values and just who we are as a person, then it really makes a big difference. And we don't have to have the applause. We don't have to have the salary. We don't have to have the acknowledgement to know that we are worthy. So I love that you said all of that. So why is it important for women to know their gifts and talents in order to use them to market themselves in their work or entrepreneurship to build wealth?
I think that a lot of us went through societal processes of going to school and then going to universities or whichever has been our educational path. And in those educational paths, we might have been really lucky to have people that really got us and that got who we are. And then we may have not. And I know there are people that are innovators. There are people that are really creative and artistic that they may not have had the opportunity to be seen in the way that maybe somebody who was super mathematical, So some of our schooling and some of the designs are not always equal for every single person. So one of the things that we need to realize, even as, for ourselves and also as mothers of our children or aunts or grandmas or whomever we are, is that we need to learn to be like, who am I and what are my gifts and talents? And then understand not just the skill sets, not just I'm a marketer, I'm great at communication, or I'm a business, development coach, or I have business expertise, but also like I'm compassionate, I'm empathetic, I'm able to be, to be strategic and ask questions. So being able to really understand the scope of our essential and natural abilities. So for example, if somebody's introverted, if somebody is introverted, they're potentially great listeners, they're great observers. If somebody's extroverted, they're basically able to connect with lots of people, be around lots of people. Some women are amazing at building communities. So understanding the gifts and talents gives you your unique value proposition for you as a human being and leader, so that then you can put yourself out into the workplace. If you're looking for a job, you can put yourself out there as an entrepreneur in your own personal brand, and then you can position yourself as a leader and subject matter expert based on you, not based on the subject matter expert of that category, but basically you, and it's tailored to you. So as you do that, then, when it comes to monetizing that, when it comes to monetizing your own skill sets and natural talents, you're better able to create a marketing plan and a marketing strategy that is aligned with who you are, so that then you can get paid for serving people with your skills and talents. So it's a really, really important thing. And it's really often really dismissed from our schooling or from even sometimes the consulting we receive, because a lot of the consulting and the schooling is focused on a skill. It's focused on an ability, or it's focused on an outcome, but it's not asking, well, are you an introvert? And if you're an introvert, if I tell you go do 100 sales calls a day, it's going to be really hard for you to succeed.
Right.
But if you're an extrovert, you'd be like, yeah, I go to like 20 million network meetings and I love it, right? So you need to find maybe somebody who's introverted like you, or that is able to understand that you are an introvert, so that, maybe you do a small coffees, maybe you do intimate conversation, maybe you have some time for rest. So how can you understand your gifts and talents, both so that you can share what makes you different, but also so that you can succeed?
That is awesome. I love all of that you said. I think it's hard to really survive as an entrepreneur if you don't know your gifts and talents, because people buy you, so to speak. They don't necessarily buy what you're offering to the world in terms of your product or service. They buy you. So your gifts and talents is what separates you from all the other financial coaches or all the other business coaches. So I think that was something that I had to really tap into. I feel like when I first started out, it was just basic. And then as I went on through time, I realized people want to see me. People want to see Ruth. It's not just about, oh, you're sharing financial information, you're helping people with their finances, but they want to see you. They love you, right? They want you. And I think that was a journey for me. And I'm still on that journey of really understanding what that's like to really show my gifts and talents. And it's not just about, oh, I have the skill to manage this thing. So yeah, I love that. So what personal experiences can you share with us on your journey of self-worth or outer worth?
Yeah, so I think in terms of my journey, I think really what happened to me is that, I was a corporate woman, then I became an entrepreneur, and then I went through different life transitions. And then what I realized is, as a corporate woman, there was a whole team and there was like a paycheck and everything, right? And when I became an entrepreneur, basically I was like, hey, I'm a solopreneur here, I'm making all the decisions. And I started noticing all these patterns, right? Like I was like, if I'm thinking this way, then I'm getting this outcome. If I think that way, then I get this outcome. If I believe this about myself, then I get this outcome. If I believe this about myself, I get this other outcome. So I started really seeing the connection, like, because a lot of the inner work, it seems kind of like, inner work, right? Like you go to a personal development class and then you develop yourself personally, but it has nothing to do with your business, right? So for me, at the beginning, I will put like all like my budget into like a strategic planning and this and a communication class and a PR thing, and everything was all outer stuff for my business, And then I was like, as I was doing my business, I started becoming aware that my mindset have a big impact on my outcome. And I started seeing the connection between the inner and the outer. So my beliefs about, like, as simple as, can I ask, to participate in a podcast? And I'm like, no, I want to wait. Like a lot of women do this. I'm going to wait to be asked. And then I'm like, yeah, somebody's just going to ask me. Somebody's just going to like ask me. And then that was really, worth. Is like being worthy of asking, because it's worthy actually of giving yourself permission to ask. Why? Not because you're asking to bother somebody, you're asking to provide value. So if you believe that you have something to offer somebody, that you have an idea that can help somebody, asking is not bothering anybody, or asking is not showing off. Asking is being of service, right? Or visibility, for example, like putting yourself out there, and like making it more accessible. So, visibility could be like, I'm putting too much attention on myself, or I'm being too self-centered or whatever, and it's not. I'm like, how is it helpful? And I think for me, through my business, when I was hearing people experiences about, their business coaches or things like that, I was like, man, like I really need to put myself out there to help people. Because, people will be like, man, it would have been so nice if I had met you 3 years ago, and because I would have saved myself from these experiences I had, right? But then, so I really started asking myself, like, how can I make myself more available? How can I make myself more accessible? And really, to me, I think being more available was because I felt I have improved my relationship of self-worth, to feel that there was something valuable for me to share to somebody. And also because I truly believe, like, one of my core values is that I believe everybody has value. Everyone, regardless of their social status, their social economic status, their background, their past mistakes and choices, everybody has value. And I felt like one of my life missions is through my business. I feel like my business, in a way, my business coaching is transformational because it's to help a person share their value in the world, to help that value that a person is bringing to help another human being, right? And if more of us really understood the value we have, then, you know, we all have gifts, right? But that our gifts aren't meant to be in our shelf. And I remember one time I met a person who had written a book, and she had it on a shelf, right? She didn't put it in she didn't publish it. And she had her whole book, but not published, right? And I think for a lot of us, I think we experience that, right? That we have our next generation of our idea, next generation we want to do. And I think if we can improve that relationship with our self-worth, really self-worth impacts others. So I think what I realized, I think as women, I think we're all about really, how can I improve the village, right? How can I make the community better? And I feel like I have ingrained in me that, like, I want my community to be better. But I really didn't understood, I think, until later in life, how I make my community better by bettering myself. So I think my journey was, the more I want to change the world, the more I want to make a difference, then this, you know, more loving relationship with myself worth, it is really important, because then it's not that my self-worth is determined on the outer, but it's always in the inner, and it's always that is an anchor to be able to then help the village, you know?
Yes. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I love that you're helping the village with what you do, just illuminating this topic, because I feel like in this day and age, it's so needed. There's so many distractions, so many comparisons and all of that. So thank you so much for sharing with us today. It's been a wonderful joy to have you on. So before we close, I just need two things from you. Number one, if you could just share one word of wisdom to our audience, you know, anything that you'd like to share, just one word of wisdom. And also let us know if you have any gifts or a newsletter or something for our audience for watching, then I'd really appreciate that.
My word of wisdom is, or my words of wisdom is, that you are a gift. And if you really can get that, like if you really can understand that, your life and the life of your children or their loved ones, if you don't have children, your relationships will change. And my gift to you is to help you through Ruth to have access to the book I wrote that is called You're the Gift, so that you can actually open the book and like make the journaling exercises and actually discover that for yourself. And you know, you can find more information of me on virginianava.com and at LinkedIn, and I'll provide you with all the links that you can utilize to access that information. So I'll be really happy to give you a copy of my book, because I truly believe that if you're able to do that, then your life will change. And also that it takes time, you know. We are in a self-improvement, you know, constant process. Like, it is not a destination, it's a journey, and we're constantly growing. So be kind to yourself now, like love yourself now.
I love that. Thank you so much. I will definitely have the links in my description. And based on what we talked about before, the books are limited, like you're giving out a certain amount of copies, right?
Yes.
Okay, so please, everyone watching this, go ahead right away and click on the link in the description while copies last, so that you can get your copy. And repeat the name of the book again.
It's called Your Unique Gift, and the link will give them access to an ebook option that they'll be able to download. And
okay, awesome. Thank you so much again for coming. This has been wonderful. I hope you enjoyed it. I definitely learned a lot and enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much again for coming. Thank you so much again, Virginia. This was a great conversation and totally needed it. You made me think about so many things with self-worth and, you know, even my journey. Anyway, I don't want to take up a lot of your time, but thank you so much for coming on. Definitely send me those links and I will, you know, insert them in the description, and I'll also across the screen have your website so that people could see where they can find you.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate your time. I'll see you on
LinkedIn. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
All right. I appreciate you too. Bye-bye.
Bye.
And there you have it, folks. It's so important to work on your inner worth and embrace your inner worth. Yes, we all have outer worth, but the inner worth is what's going to be long lasting. If you love this video, this conversation, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. Come back again to this channel so you can hear more that I have in store for you. And like I always say, change your mind, change your pocketbook. See you in the next video.